So welcome, good afternoon. This is our first strength conditioning class, yoga and strength conditioning for the new starting up of the season for this class. So you're going to need a foam roller and a physio ball. And it's my intention to take us through a kind of well-rounded experience of the whole body today. And there is a kind of choreography that I'd like us to be able to learn about, just to see where we are with making these small pieces that get put together into a sequence of sorts where you can sense, okay, what is my capacity for integration or for hemisphere collaboration between the sides of the brain and so on. So I'd like us to start by sitting on the foam roller in Vajrasana. And that means that you're kneeling on the front edge of the roller. So your hips are on the roller, the sitting bones are on either side of the roller. And if that's too short for you to kneel on because maybe the knees don't bend that well, then take a folded blanket or two and put that under the roller and then sit on the roller from there. So your seat would be higher up, but you would still have a place to feel the contact of the shape of the roller. And the roller is round, so you might feel it on the inner edges of your sitting bones along the left and right inner seam of the ischial tuberosity. And then rest your hands in your lap, and you're welcome to close your eyes. Allow your mind and your body to start arriving here in the present. Almost as if you had been beamed into your body by the Star Trek Enterprise. When they beamed them back up to the ship, they would be pixelated and then they would arrive there. So imagine that your pixels are all coming together. Support that process of pixelating yourself, of coming into your cohesive self. Let your mind drop down to the sensations of your sitting bones on the sides of the roller. And then start breathing down into those sensations. You could think of the breath as kind of an usher for the mind to know where to go to take its seat in the theater. In this case, the seat is right there at the sitting bones. Let's start visualizing that on the inhale, when the breath goes down, it's like the sitting bones widen apart. The pelvic floor is more spacious. And on the exhale, the space between those bony landmarks becomes more toned. It's not that those two landmarks have to come closer together, but the musculature, the soft tissue, the muscle fibers that interweave there, they become more toned. Inhale a little bit longer, a little slower. Same for the exhale. Encourage it to be longer, smoother, slower. Now, as you next exhale, tip the pelvis down like a cat pose tilt. So you're going to roll the top of the pelvis back and the tailbone forward. And you're going to feel the foam roller now as you inhale, roll forward to like a cow pose tilt where the spine and the back are arching. And then exhale, roll the other way. I'm placing my fingers on my hip bone so that you can have a sense of that movement if you were to be a visual learner, but you can sense it as movement through your somatic direct process too. So when we're rolling forward, the pubic bone is dropping down, the inner thighs roll down, the top of the ilium bones comes forward. When we're rolling the other way, the tailbone is reaching towards the knees. The sacrum rolls on the roller, maybe about 1/3 the way up. And let's do it about 3 times more. Rolling at the pace of your breath cycle. You're moving through the process as smoothly as you can, both for the physical movement and the feeling of the breath, and also the mind. And when you next inhale and you're coming up from the cat pose tilt, pause in the center and find your way. Now bring the right leg up to, this is like a version of a pose called Matsyendrasana, Ardha Matsyendrasana. So bring the right knee up. It's also part of what we would call Marichyasana. And those are both sages. Marichyasana and Matsyendrasana are both named after sages. I don't know these sages, but it's in the lore. So take your fingers and clasp them over your front shin. And as you roll back, make that taut like a cat pose. And then roll forward and up like cow pose. Okay, so you're going to be able to sense on the right side, the pelvis is in flexion. On the left side, your pelvis is still more neutral. There's a little bit of flexion because of where your thigh bone is, but you have a lot more flexion for the right side. Okay, so roll forward and up. And this time, as you roll back, I'm going to ask you to curve the tailbone down and pick up the right knee and snug it into your chest, keeping your balance. And then roll back down. Place your right foot and heel on the ground. Okay, let's take the other side. So this is like a massage right now for the sort of quiet, silent type muscles at the pelvic floor that aren't so silent when we have back pain or anxiety or insomnia or incontinence and so on. But we don't tend to think about these muscles in daily life. So clasp your hands again around your shin bone. And let's inhale to come forward and up like cow pose. And then roll, and keeping the arms taut. When you roll back, you ought to feel the lower back is also broadening. Roll forward and up. Yeah, and then roll back and down. Down. And then one more time when you're rolling back, now keeping your balance, pick up your left knee. Great, and then roll that back down, toes, down to the toes and the heel. Okay, let's bring both feet up to this position. So you're squatting a little bit like squatting, but we're sitting on the roller. And if you come to the very front edge of the roller where you're sitting right there, you're going to feel the foam roller. If you have the black one like I have, I call that the Darth Vader roller. It's a very firm roller. You're going to feel that more than one of the blue or white rollers. If you're on a black roller and it feels like it's too strong for you, you could put a blanket over the edge of it so it gives a little bit of padding. Or you could wear your bicycle shorts to class. Just kidding. Okay, so here now, as you roll back, because both knees are in flexion, please hold the knees when you roll back. But because both knees are in flexion, when you roll back, you get to go farther back. And when you roll up, you're going to feel a little bit different orientation of the sitting bones on the roller. Okay, and so roll again. Keep the hands strong on the knees, so you're rolling back into definite flexion for the spine, and then you're rolling forward and up into extension for the spine. Let's do it 3 times more. Inhale, roll through. And exhale, rolling back Notice all the sensations that are asking for your attention, and maybe even those sensations are helping you to be more pixelated, to be more here, more cohesive, less like your pixels are out in the Star Trek universe. And then raise that up to sitting. Okay, great. So that's a start. Now what I'd like us to do, we haven't done any other stretching yet in this class. Maybe today you had the morning class or a morning practice, but I want you to see now directly, how does this activity help you with something like hamstring flexibility or lower back ease and forward bending? So we're going to come up to standing and take a stance so you have your feet, let's say, hip distance apart or a little bit wider. Mine are a tiny bit wider. I do have 2 hip replacements, and I prefer this as my stance sometimes. Let's come down to a forward bend. Release the weight of the head. And check for yourself to see what is the experience now of coming down to the forward bend. How much freedom? What is the feeling of your breath in your body? How does your lower back feel? And then raise your hands to your hips, please, and rise up to standing. Okay, so that's the pelvic floor and some of the myofascial tension that we might be able to contact or connect with. And I'm going to ask you now to sit on your foam roller. It's not your foam roller, your physio ball. And for the purpose of actually balancing on it. So this is a short physio ball. I have 2 physio balls here. Let me just show that the size is kind of relevant, but it's not 100% relevant. Like you can see how different these 2 sizes are, right? One like mini and one papa. And I'm not a tall person. So if I sit on this one, my toes kind of barely reach the floor, but I can pick up my feet and balance on this one. And if I sit on the shorter one, which you might associate as being mine because I'm shorter, if I sit here, I can also balance on it. So what I'm going to ask you to do to learn about this balance is don't do it suddenly. Don't just fling your feet up and imagine that you're going to be okay there. What you're going to do first is roll slightly back behind the center of the ball. So the center is going to be kind of right in front of the pubic bone and the thighs. And then lift your heels, but try not to think about lifting your knees up. We're not going to pick up the knees. You lift the heels so you're tippy-toeing. And then try lifting the toes of one foot like this. And then down. And the other foot. And if you're already leaning to pick up one foot, in other words, if you pick up the foot and you lean to do it, and then you won't be quite ready to pick up both feet. So that's a way to check if you're going to lift the toes of your right foot. Is there kind of adequate attention and cohesion in the belly? Have you not rolled the ball side to side? Pick up the left toes. And if that's working pretty well, then what you're going to do is concentrate, focus your eyes, and pick up both feet. If you're on a taller ball, you can have the knees bent some. If you're on a shorter ball, you're going to need the legs to be a little bit more straight. You can take the arms out if you want to, because they can help you initially to get your balance. But in time, you're going to have the ability to balance on the ball, just like when you go for a walk, you'll be able to move the arms around and you won't be crashing. It won't be a catastrophe. You'll also in time be able to move your head about in this practice. You'll watch the kitten over there, the kitten over here. You'll hear the bird sound, but you won't be tense holding your balance on the ball. Okay, so with that, now let's put the toes down and roll to a place where your thighs are not higher than your hips, but your feet are flat on the floor. So I couldn't use the tall ball for this very well. I could come to the front edge of the tall ball, so my thighs were more parallel, but I'd be working harder than I would want to be. So find a place where this is like your tripod. Interlace your fingers, raise up. Bring the breath down into the lower pelvis.
Sarah Jo, I have a question.
Yep.
Can I put my bolster under my feet if I have a large ball? And
Yes, you could put your bolster in front of your feet there. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Great.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. I like that idea. Okay. Because it's going to give you like a little step stool, right? I'm getting this. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so that means that what you're doing there, sometimes we use the blocks under the feet, Ellen. We can place the blocks there to make the floor higher if the ball's too high. So adjust as you need to, for sure. And then let's take the arms up. Okay, find your center. And as you exhale, push out and gaze to your right. Turn your palms up, inhale overhead, bring your head to center, interlace the fingers, push up. And then exhale, push out and gaze to your left. And inhale, raise up, clasp the hands and look forward. Now exhale, big circle of the arms, come across with a twist to your right. Inhale, rise up, clasp the hands, look forward. Exhale, big circle of the arms, twist to your left. Inhale to center, rise up. Exhale, rotate, twist to your right. Full inhale as you come to center. And a complete exhale as you twist to your left. And then inhale to center one more time. And exhale, float the arms out and come to relax. Rest your palms on your knees. You can close the eyes and check and see what's the quality of your mind after just 15 minutes on a physio ball and a foam roller. What's happening now for your mind? Now we're going to practice one of the skills that's a building block skill with the ball. I want to put my foam roller aside because I don't want to roll the ball into it. I want to put this other physio ball aside so I'll have the space. So a building block action means something that we learn it and then we're going to keep using it and it'll become more and more first nature, not even just second nature. So if you're sitting on the ball now, I want you to walk forward with your feet until you can playfully then decide when you're going to walk back up to sitting. Now, something to know is that the ball is going to incrementally keep going further back. So give yourself some space behind the ball. So when you walk forward, you take a couple steps, keeping your balance, roll onto your toes, and then walk yourself backwards and press yourself up to sitting. And then again, and if you're able to coordinate it, the arms also go overhead. And if this is something that's really difficult to do right now for any reason, then we do it slower with smaller increments. So you might come forward and then roll the pelvis down and then walk yourself back. Like if you have an injury that you're working with, or you have a sense that your body doesn't quite have this muscle pattern, then you can walk out just a couple feet and walk it back and kind of get accustomed to being on an unstable surface until you find that you'll feel more playful and even more creative or adventuresome on the ball. And then when that time comes, you know that you've made the skill kind of first nature, not just second nature. Okay. Do it one more time and then bring yourself back up to sitting on your ball. Thank you for playing with that. It's fun to see your efforts, and we're going to keep growing in how we do these things together. Yeah. Okay, let's take ourselves now. We're going to stand up in a wide leg forward bend. So I like to incorporate some flexibility and some yoga into the class with the physio ball. So take a wide stance like this. Walk your ball forward. So your hands are going to be around the outside edges of the physio ball. Your hands are about shoulder width apart. And so your torso is going to be more or less parallel to the floor, depending on your height and the height of your ball. Let the breath become smooth and steady. The pelvis should feel, I would almost like to use the word neutral. It's neither in deep flexion, nor is it really in extension. So more or less, I'd like the pelvis to be, let's say, parallel to the floor. So you're not overly tipping the sitting bones up, and you're not overly tucking the tailbone down. Okay, and then walk your hands and your physio ball to the right. And lengthen your left hip back. Press your left heel down. Breathe along the left side of your waist. And then walk your physio ball and your hands to center. And then walk your physio ball and your hands to the left and lengthen the right side waist. Now, something to notice here, because we have the advantage of being with the physio ball, it gives us a different kind of surface to work with for the hands. When you inhale, press your hands gently down against the physio ball and picture the breath expanding more in the back hemisphere of your body. When you exhale, squeeze the physio ball with the pinky finger side of your hands. Then roll the elbows towards the center, roll your triceps towards the center. Your shoulder blades will widen apart. And there's a muscular support that goes from the shoulder blades to the serratus anterior. That's around the front of the ribs and then down into the oblique muscles, which are part of the abdomen. So when you inhale, press your palms down, expand the back of the body. When you exhale, press with your pinky fingers, rotate the arms externally and tone the front abdomen near your ribs and down towards your pubic bone. And then walk this back to center as well. And try one more breath cycle with the same idea. The palms press down on the inhale. The back body expands, then the palms can press the pinkies more firmly than the thumbs during the exhale. And then walk your hands and your physio ball back to center. And step your feet up and rise up to standing. And let's just check and see, well, how are things feeling right now? I'd like us to stick with the physio ball for a few more minutes. And what I want to do is another one of these building block activities where as we learn the building block, it's going to become stronger and more intrinsic for you to do it. And on that building block, other activities are like scaffolded from there. So please lie on your back with your physio ball under your heels. Watch out for your hair clip or your ponytail or anything. If you got a bobby pin on your head, watch out for that too. Okay, so walk the ball out until you have your heels on the top of the ball. And then take the arms out to the side. Palms can be relaxed, face up. Let's make the face tranquil. Relax your breath and your body. And without adding anything yet, so not adding like, don't clench your teeth or make the eyes feel forceful. You're not imagining a big ujjayi breath. We're not bringing in all the sort of paratroopers to make this work. Keep it really relaxed and see if you can press your heels onto the ball and raise your hips up while keeping the ball relatively stable. And you're not using your arms to keep it stable either. I'm just showing how it's not my arms that are holding that steady. And then roll yourself back down. Okay, so when you roll up, and I'm saying be really casual about it, because your intrinsic core muscles, that is your pelvic floor, your transverse abdominus, let's roll down, the diaphragm, the multifidi, these intrinsic core muscles, they anticipate, visualize, and respond to your intention. They're not asking for a lot of determination from you. These are the muscles that in daily life you think of, oh, I'd like to reach for a glass of water. And those muscles have turned on before your arm has reached for the water. So I'd like you to be able to be casual about this and even, playful, that you're not, you feel like you have some internal stability that you can count on. Now, that being said, some of you are going to pick up the ball and you're going to pick up your hips and the ball's going to start rolling about and it won't feel too like you can keep track of it. So that would be a hint about intrinsic core stability. So what we're going to do to build that core stability is now using the tools of yoga. Let's close the eyes and visualize a smooth stream of the breath from the base of the pelvis through the center line of the torso. And let's use the ujjayi breath. So you'll have the sound. And the sound of the ujjayi that also brings a certain kind of composure to the internal core muscles of the body. And then when you exhale, press your heels down and roll the tailbone up. Relax your arms, but roll up through the back of your pelvis and your lower spine. And then inhale, roll your spine down. Imagine the back of the body is broadening like a parachute on the way down. And then exhale, roll back up. Think of the pelvic tilt here. You're going to inhale and roll down. So we're not really using the rib cage or the upper body right now for the bridge pose. It is a lower body, really from your floating ribs down towards your feet. That's what you're working with the most. Please do that 2 more times. And be mindful of how you're moving. Even the pauses in the breath cycle are a part of the action. So there'll be like a moment of feeling really still at the top of the movement, and then this feeling of returning to stillness at the bottom of the movement. And when you get to the bottom of that one, bring your ball in, cross your ankles over the top of the ball, and let your body rest. Please do not be dismayed if you found that difficult. The wobbling of the ball is an indicator that there's a need to kind of recollaborate or recoordinate your intrinsic core. And the good news is, if that was wobbling, and if you've been having issues like chronic pain or anxiety or insomnia or distractedness, it's possible that healing this intrinsic core process in the body, it will benefit those parts of our life that we don't even think of as related to the pelvic floor. But it is all connected. So if you found that you weren't very stable, you could imagine you've had this treasure house now of a discovery. Let's put the feet now on the front edge of the ball so the knees are bent. Let's look for the knees and the thighs to be 90-90. And you can, I have very flexible feet, so my feet go like that easily on the ball. That might not be your experience, in which case you could put the back of the heels, or you could try moving the ball closer, or so the ankles don't have to bend quite as much. So think about where you want to be so that you can then press your feet down and just float the hips up. Like the thighs are helping to give the pelvis a chance to dangle, like as if each thigh was an earring and the pelvis was the decorations. So you could have the back of the heels on the ball if that's easier for the shape of your feet or ankles. It's up to you. And then roll that back down. Gently place the top of the sacrum before the middle of the sacrum. Your tailbone won't reach the floor here. And relax. And we're going to repeat that. Let's do it 5 times smoothly. So press the feet down, lift your tailbone, roll up. Think of the pelvis as neutral, neither a lot of flexion nor extension. And exhale, lower down. You may be feeling your hamstrings, maybe your calf muscles. Of course, we want you to also feel the breath and the concentration of the mind. So inhale to go up. And exhale to roll down. And I think it's twice more, but I'm not very good at counting in class. I never have been. I could say we'll do 3 and then I think we've done only 2, and I can be miscounting regularly. Roll down. And then last one. Okay, and then again, bring the ball in, cross your ankles, and relax. We've had a couple of years of the pandemic, and a lot of people have been sitting more at home, working at home, maybe not always sitting on a really good desk chair, for example, or becoming more sedentary because of the pandemic, the way it's affected them. And it's possible that we have tightened our hip flexors on the front and then weakened our hamstrings on the back. So that activity you could feel was strengthening your hamstrings. And the first one was asking, this one here, when the legs are straight, is asking for your glutes and your hamstrings together. So we're going to use these building blocks with the muscles to get ever stronger, bits and bits more strong. Strong here means the strength between the muscles having a conversation with each other. It's always muscles in relationship to other muscles and in relationship to gravity, right? So you can pick up your ball and set it aside. Where am I going to put mine? Let's do this. Okay, please reach for your roller. Place your roller across your mat horizontally. This is another building block activity because we're just starting up with the class. Some of these building blocks are the things that I want you to know. Now, when you first lie down, bring it right up against the sitting bone, so it's really close, and then take your legs over the roller. Pick up the hips, and you're going to feel the weight going onto your hamstrings. And what you can do is rock the pelvis side to side, almost like you're out walking. You know, you get that little swing when you're walking, I guess a little sachet in the springtime. So it's okay if you feel like the need to bend the knees or to move the feet. You're going to sense each time you put pressure on one leg, it's like a little massage there, and then go to the other side, a little massage there too. So back and forth, like walking. You might also observe what happens at the front of the pelvis, like when you press your right thigh down, can you feel the right hip flexors? And same thing on the left side. So we're not stretching the hamstrings per se, but we're stretching them by putting a massage force on them. Let's bring the hips and pelvis to center. Touch your hips down and roll the roller out about 2 inches. Press onto the roller, lift your hips, and again, pretend that you're out walking. So what you're doing there is, it's almost like if you were walking uphill, you can tell that you have to use the pushing leg in a certain way. And so here, I'm pressing my right thigh down as if I were walking, now the left thigh, as a kind of like hiking, right? And you may feel the pelvis again should be going side to side, that we want the elasticity of that. And if you don't have a black roller, it's probably less intense than if you're using one of the black rollers. The white and blue rollers tend to be softer. Okay, and let's do it one more time. Roll it down a couple more inches. Lift your hips up and press against the roller one leg at a time. Again, as if you're walking. Now, no need to overarch the lower back here. So as the roller goes farther out, your hips are going to lift a little bit less high off the floor, excuse me. And that's just a matter of dynamics or mechanics. And then lower down, pick up your hips and bring the roller under the back of the pelvis. And bring your knees to your chest. Let the knees fall towards the chest so you're stretching the lower back. You've also inverted the pelvic floor very slightly. Relax the low belly. And keeping your knees snug to your chest. If you'd like to, you can hold the roller for security. Otherwise, you don't have to hold it, it should stay. We're going to roll the knees down to the right. And then to center and to the left. And I'm asking you to keep the knees close to the chest because we'll go kind of incrementally towards different parts of the outer hips. And right now, when the knees are snug in towards the chest, you're going to feel across the back of your ilium, the back of the sacrum, and the sort of upper outer part of the hip. So one more time to the left. And roll back to center. And now bring your knees up about 45 degrees from the heart. And roll again. This is a different location, so keep track of the distance of your thighs from your chest as you're rolling. A little bit like spine twisting in yoga. We call this, in Sanskrit, it would be Jatara Parivartanasana. So as you're going side to side, one of the things that you're keeping track of is where are the thighs. They should be equidistant to each other so they don't get closer when you roll right or left. And we're keeping about 45 degrees from the torso. And roll back to center, and then we're going to bring the knees and thighs to about 90 degrees from the torso. And if it helps you, you can put the shins in this 90 position also. And then when you're rolling, try to keep the knees equal distance from each other, which is about hip distance. If that's hard to control, you could put a block between your knees. As you're rolling across here, think of a smooth action. You're rolling around from the sacrum to the outer hip. There is your piriformis muscle. You might be greeting sensations that you didn't know you were going to be having today. Some of these are like hidden sensations until you're on your roller. Okay, come back to center. And then let's touch the feet down. So you're now in what we would call supported bridge pose. Close your eyes. And notice the activity in your lower body and the legs. It's also where the breath feels at home in the body right now. Is it more in the chest, in the stomach, the low abdomen? And bring awareness to your feet and your seat. Press down through your heels. Lift your hips just enough to scooch the roller out and place your hips back on the floor. Okay, so based on that experience now and where we've been in the class, I'd like you to put the roller aside. And I would like you to have a block to go between your knees. My arm didn't get long enough yet to reach the block from the floor. So bring a block, place it between your knees. Take the arms out into a T shape. And let's put the knees in that 90 position first. So you've got this 90-90 here. And I'd like you to roll over to your twist on the right. And as you come down, you should check for yourself. Let me model this. So if you know that your left shoulder cannot stay on the floor when you roll your knees to the right, if you know that about your flexibility, prepare your foam roller as an example. A foam roller could be like a stepping stone right there that you're going to rest on for the knees and the shins and the feet to be supported. Right? So that's if you know that you can't make it to the floor. If you are someone whose knees, maybe they come a little further than the roller, you could use a blanket. Or if your knees will come to the floor, go ahead and go directly to the floor. Place your right hand on your left knee and twist to your left with the upper body. And my hope is that your knees are stacked. If you look over at your knees, you can see them. They're lined up there like a seawall. You don't want the seawall to be crumbling. And then as you're turning your upper body to the left, notice where the breath is geographically in your body. Does it have permission to come down into the pelvis? Let's open the right arm out to the side in case you had your hand on your knee. And using your inner belly muscles, exhale, roll up to center. And then you can plan for your roller or your blanket to be on the floor on your left side if you need that. Otherwise, you may be going all the way to the floor. And that would be something that you might know about yourself based on years of practice. Or it could be that the foam roller work we did today, or even the physioball work that we did, has contributed to something in your body being more limber. Now, when you come down and the knees are stacked, it's also going to be the case that the pelvis is lying directly on the side. And so your twist is in the inner belly and in the upper chest and heart. Notice where the breath is geographically in your body. If it's not now welcomed into the pelvis, what might you do to support that? Release the left arm out to the side, connect to the inner abdomen, and raise your knees up to center. We'll take the block and put it aside. And since your roller is so conveniently nearby, please reach for it and take it under your knees. We're going to do a few minutes now of Shavasana so that we can come back up to feel the possibility that this kind of practice actually encourages a meditative state for you. You will know that from the Shavasana towards the meditation. So please turn your palms face up. Let your shoulders get heavy towards the floor. Don't expect that your lower back is going to be flat to the floor, but you can encourage the tailbone to move down towards the roller. We've practiced a number of building blocks today and some things that make a cross-hemisphere pattern in your brain and body. So allow yourself to really rest deeply. The integration after the activity is very important in this practice. Keep your mind and your attitude like a witness, as if you were watching the fish in the aquarium, just watching the inner body. No analysis, no judgment. Deeply relax your eyes. So you're simply seeing or witnessing what is happening. What is the felt sense of the body? Watching and observing without analyzing, without judging. Yourself to be very mentally still, so you have the glimpses moment to moment. Mind, the senses, the heart, the inner belly to be really relaxed. For just a short while more, let it go deeper. Let it go deeper for about 1 more minute. Give yourself the fullness of your experience dropping in and down. Overall sense of have all the pixels come back. Then begin to gently wiggle your fingers and your toes. And you can roll your head thoughtfully side to side. And please bend your knees so your feet can come up to the roller. Go ahead and scooch the roller out just enough to put your feet on the floor. And roll to your side. And we'll rise up to sit in our original position, which is to take Vajrasana on the roller. Rest your hands in your lap. As you come upright, notice the quality of mind that comes with you when you arrive. Feeling tone of your body. And See what correlation there is between the feeling tone of the body and the experience you're having with your mind. Raise your hands to your heart. A little mental snapshot of the feeling tone you have right now for your body and your mind and your heart and your pixels. For being here, everyone. Namaste. We'll just close the recording so we can then be more confidential together.